Pleasant morning to everyone. Sometimes I realize that I don't have as much opportunities to share here anymore as I did before, having now many assignments during the week in the school. But I take this as a great privilege and an honor, and I can share thoughts to us. And this morning, I hope we realize every day a sycamore tree called the Morning Office of Prayer with Eucharist is presented to us so that we can climb that tree and have a better perspective and view of Jesus throughout the day, so that we can level up from the crowd and the hustle and bustle of the things that are happening, the anxieties that are so easily entangling us. And we can climb our sycamore tree every morning to just see Jesus. Because Jesus reveals himself very clearly every day in two areas: the Word and the Eucharist. Sacrament. The Word and the Sacrament. And it should be in a time, because we are in an age today that is already so wrapped up with fear. There is so much turmoil going around. Living in a city that is composed of 17 million people during the day, which comes down to about 13 million at night. Still a big number. We live in a concrete jungle, and it is very easy to just get swayed by the things that are happening. Yesterday, coming from just as far as Muñoz all the way to Guadalupe, traffic was like in a gridlock. Late afternoon. It's such a place where there's so much inconsistency, so much change, so much fashion coming here and there. We should find solace where it says in the Psalms, the sum of His Word is truth. That we can begin to see the truth of life based on how God reveals. Because this is what He has promised. All our readings today, we can spend the whole maybe year just on these three readings. Ephesians alone is filled with promises of God. But I'm thankful that we start off with Zechariah, because Zechariah was one who was born in Babylon. He never really grew up in Jerusalem. And all he knew was the promises that God had. He was part of the group that came back from the exile. And his father, Berechiah, we don't know much about him, but much of his ancestors. And the word Zechariah, the name Zechariah means God remembers. God remembers. As we have seen in our canticle this morning, where even, I think this Zechariah, his namesake, the husband of Elizabeth, when he mentioned here in our canticle, the second canticle, he promised to show mercy to our fathers and to remember His holy covenant. You see, God remembers. God remembers His promises. God is a God who will redeem us, who will bring us back to where He has called us. We have been destined from the beginning. And the Son of Man, Jesus said in the Gospel, came to seek, to save the lost. Very easy for us. I know many times when we get pressured, past 2 weeks was a lot of work that we had to do, a lot of things that we could have missed, and we have probably missed. There were things that we were not able to fulfill. And when we begin to evaluate it, we have in a way gone down a few notches in terms of excellence. And yet, when we look at all of these things that are happening, And sometimes the condemnation and the anxiety that happens when these things take place. Let us hold fast and have the anchor. And remember, God remembers. God remembers. He does not forget. God is here to seek and to save the lost. Whatever failures we've had of yesterday and the past weeks and the past years, whatever things that we have missed, God will bring restoration. That's why Zechariah says, don't worry. The last verse we read today, Jerusalem will become a place, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace and supplication will be upon them. In spite of all the things that have happened, in spite of all the problems that Jerusalem faced, and the people of Israel have gone through, God's promise never fails. In Ephesians, you see there how it is outlined. It's going to lavish and continue to bring that about in our lives. And so as we look today at our lives as Cathedral of the King, there is much work to be done ahead. But remember that as much work has been given, we have a greater opportunity to see the greatness of God revealed even more. No, we should be a people. I like what one worker said when I said, pressure na tayo. No, that's what we were made for, pressure. Kaya natin yan. Because that's really what the child of God is. We remember, like Zechariah, the promises of God. He never fails. It's so easy to forget when we are overwhelmed with needs, when we are overwhelmed with problems. But we must be like Zechariah. God remembers. God remembers. We may never forget the covenant of God in our lives. That's why every morning we climb our sycamore tree to be reminded of that. Let's not see this as just a ceremony, as something that we do to fulfill our task for the day. But let's see this as our sycamore tree so that we can have a better view of Jesus and see Him and His true life and saving, salvific power in our lives. Because God remembers. He sent His Son to make sure that the covenant is established and His promises are fulfilled.